All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Lasting Learning Podcast. Today, you are in for a treat. We're just going to have an absolutely magical time today on this episode, pun intended, because I have an absolutely amazing and magical guest joining us on the Lasting Learning Podcast today. We've got a guy who has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Well, actually, I don't really know if they're up his, I don't really know where his tricks are. But we've got a guy here who is here to just wow us, entertain us, inspire us, and share his journey with all of us. We've got a guy who sent me a package in the mail to prep for today, which has me a little nervous because there were stickers all over it saying, "Do not open until the podcast." I've pulled it to my ear a couple times to make sure it's not ticking. I think we're okay. I'm curious to see what is in the package and why he wanted me to wait. But today I have the absolutely amazing, the spectacular, the magical John Abrams with us. John, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Dave. Pressure's on now. I better be fun and entertaining.
You better be, man. That's what you said you were. No, I'm just playing. I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be great. You know, I was telling my kids, people that listen know I've got 4 kids, and I was telling my kids that we were doing this show today, and they were jealous. They were asking, "Dad, can I sit around and watch?" And I kept saying, "No, this is John's show. I'll let you watch after it's all said and done."
Well, actually, the package that I sent you has a surprise for you for them. We'll get into that later, but they'll be able to experience some of it with you.
Okay. Well, my daughter did want to make sure that whatever I open up doesn't like explode with glitter all over my face, because I told her if there's a mess, they're cleaning it up. So, okay. Well, I'm excited, but we'll get to that. I'm super intrigued about that. So John, before we start unpacking things, can we unpack you? Sure. Introduce yourself to the audience. Who are you, and why do we keep talking about packages and magic and all that? Tell people who you are.
Well, sure. For the last 20 or 25 years, I've made my living doing school assemblies, doing magic for school assemblies. And what I do is a couple of shows. One's called The Bully Game that teaches bully prevention at elementary schools K through 6th. And one of the other shows that I do is something called Random Acts of Character, where I teach character traits through magic to kids K through 6th. Wow. So that's basically what I've been doing. And then during the summers, I do a lot of libraries, encouraging kids to read. So my long-term goal is to affect as many kids as possible.
Yeah, I just got to unpack that. 25 years or so on the road doing school assemblies. Yeah. You're going to have to explain this one to me, man. So I've been in education for 21 years, and it is hard enough getting up and going to school when it's the same school every single day, and you've got the relationships and the connections with the kids. What was it that triggered you to say, yeah, I want to spend my days, my life on the road, traveling to schools and entertaining and inspiring a bunch of kids that I've never met before?
Yeah, well, the story kind of goes like this. I started out as a magician, actually started out as an actor, and then transitioned into being a magician. And I was doing birthday parties every weekend. And so my Saturday and Sunday were completely filled with, 6, 8 shows on a weekend. But then I had kids. And when my kids were young, I realized that I was gone all the time, almost every single weekend, trying to make a living. So I thought to myself, well, what can I do where I'm at home with them when they're at home, and be able to spend more quality time with them? So I thought to myself, school assemblies. I think that's a great idea, because doing school assemblies, I'm actually in school doing school assemblies and working while they're in school. And then when I get home, I'm home to help them with their homework and all that kind of jazz. So at the time, I was doing a show called Animal Magic, which was magic with live animals. And I had a few school shows. And what I would do is, when I would go and do those school shows, I'd ask the teachers and the principals and the different people in charge, what are the big problems? What can I help you with? What are the things that I can bring to your school that'll help out the school? And this was around 2007 or so. Okay. And the number one answer was bullying.
Bullying, yep.
Bullying. So I got all the books, and I related all the things to my own kids, and I got all the videotapes at the time, and I watched all the videotapes and read a bunch of books, and I came up with something called The Bully Game. And in 2007 or 8, I released The Bully Game, and I went from doing just a few schools a year to doing 300 or 400
Wow.
shows a year. I've been doing that now for the last, I don't know, what is that, 13, 14, 15 years, something like that.
300 plus shows a year.
Right.
Okay. I just want to unpack that. How in the world? I mean, you got to smile as soon as we came on before we even started recording. You were just smiling and infectious, and you just seem like you've got this natural energy and enthusiasm about you. 300 shows a year. How are you not just exhausted and dragging yourself through the door every day?
Well, I kind of am sometimes.
Okay.
But, you know, doing the shows keeps me young and keeps me energized.
Yeah.
And then when I'm at home, in fact, some people say, oh, yeah, he must be great. Say to my kids, he must be great. He must be fun. Here's a dove. Here's a this. Here's a that. And the truth is, by the time I'm done doing the shows, I'm exhausted. So I'm sitting at home just like anybody else, you know, with the remote and watching TV and kicking back. But the shows, there's something about when you get 300 kids in front of you, it kind of energizes you, and it keeps, no matter what kind of mood you're in, no matter what's happening to you during the day, that seems to elevate your energy, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's cool. You know, as you're talking, I'm reminded of a lot of similarities. I was a classroom teacher for about 7 or 8 years before I went into administration and then started doing a lot of the stuff that I do on the side. But people used to say classroom teachers are entertainers, they're actors, they're magicians, if you will. They have to really pull things out of their pockets, up their sleeves, whatever, all day, every day to try to make learning happen. Do you see those same similarities where every single day you got to bring it regardless of what's going on? You are an entertainer. And if you're going to teach kids, you've got to have them look right while you pull something out left. I mean, is that the name of the game?
That's exactly true. Well, a couple of things with that. First of all, I admire teachers. I mean, some of the teachers come to me and they say, well, how do you do it? How do you keep the attention of 300 kids at a time or 350 kids at a time? And I say, well, I'm there for 45 minutes. I have all the bells and whistles. You know, I can whip this out and pull that out and do this and do that and entertain 300 kids for 45 minutes. Teachers have the hard job. You're talking about every day, 6-7 hours a day, the same kids, the same thing every single day. So my hat's off to, I actually have a hat. My hat's off to the teachers because that's a tougher job. But to answer your question, yes. When I'm hired to do an assembly, I'm hired to be a happy guy, have some fun, entertain, educate. I can't show up and be on stage and be sad and tell the kids about my day, just like you teachers, I imagine.
Yeah, and I can imagine too, you kind of find yourself at times, and maybe not, I'm guessing here, you find yourself at these assemblies really having to speak to two audiences. You're speaking to the kids.
Oh, yeah.
But you also have a lot of adults in the room that you're trying to entertain and inspire and make laugh as well. I mean, ultimately, they're the ones that pay the bills, right? So you want them to be entertained along the way.
Exactly.
How do you find that balance? How do you make sure that the content you're delivering and the magic you're delivering spans the generations?
Sure. There's a few things that I do. In the character and bully game, those shows, what I've done is created concepts that the teachers may not teach, so it's new to them. So when they hear it for the first time, they're like, oh, well, that's an interesting concept. So hopefully the teachers and the students and the principal are all speaking the same language by the time I'm done. And the second thing that I do, and this is a little trick of the trade, I use upbeat music that the kids would like, but that upbeat music is 80s music, 90s music, according to the age of the teachers. I use that kind of music throughout the show. So they think it's partially for them too. It's just not a little kids show.
Well played. And hopefully if there are educators listening to this, they're taking these nuggets and saying, oh, I can use that in my classroom too. Maybe even on evaluation day, you find out what your administrator's favorite music is. And that's the intro music you play. I don't know. But there's so much showmanship that needs to go into teaching. And I'm hoping people are going to start connecting dots between what you say and what you do to what they do. So that's
actually
really cool.
Wait, you said you're going to do this visually, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You might do it visually because I also teach a magic class. And I know that teachers can't do this every single day, but what I have behind me, you can't see it right now, but what I have behind me is a bunch of props that I just pull out at random times according to what comes up. And just to give you an idea of how that works.
Okay.
I know it's
Okay.
kind of silly, but here's another thing from Axel Express. Hi, how are you? You can interview a kid with something like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Just the simple props just to change the
Just
dynamic of the conversation.
hey, Dave.
I love it. I love it. So for those that are listening, he's literally just pulling out things and big lips and a big mouth and having conversation just to change the dynamic and changes truly what I'm looking at. I'm no longer looking into his eyes to try to get into his soul. I'm smiling and just looking at the prop and kind of distracted a little bit. That's awesome.
Yeah, and especially in these days with when you're live in a class, you can kind of see what's going on. But these days with the computer, you're talking about kids that are sitting in their living room, they're having their cereal. It's not a classroom setting. So we have to do these things to keep them interested in what we're talking about, in the concepts that we're talking about. And if we do things like this, for example, maybe once a week, every Friday, then the kids will look forward to that Friday.
Right.
That you're gonna be whipping out all sorts of crazy things.
No, that's so good. Great point. But I want to go back to how you started that.
Oh, sure.
That explanation. And you said you teach a magic class.
Yeah.
So that piques my interest a little bit, because I thought magic was this secret art. And I've always been fascinated by how magicians learn their craft, because I thought you had to take like some secret oath and memorize the secret handshake, and you couldn't share any tools or tricks. How in the world, did you learn this amazing art and the skill? And are you like bound by certain principles on what you can share and what you can't share?
Yeah, there's two questions. First, how did I start doing it? I worked for a magician for quite a while because I had a lot of stage experience, and he asked me to work with him. So we traveled the country doing like live tigers and things. So I learned a little bit of the craft that way. Then once we parted ways and I started doing it myself, I once again read all the books and checked out all the videos, and you can actually get all of those things at your local library and at magic shops online, which used to be brick and mortar shops, but you can get a lot of that stuff online. So that's how I started out, and then ended up doing shows, et cetera, et cetera. Now, as far as teaching, in January of this year, I signed up with a group called Discover Magic that not only teaches magic, but also teaches the core values of a true magician. That's being respectful and creative and humble and all of those things. Of course, I'm not the perfect example of being humble, but the concept is that we teach these things, the respectful and creative and those types of things first, and then the magic is supplemental to those. So the magic comes second. What most teachers do will teach the lesson, the magic lesson, and being creative and such is a value that they get because you've taught those lessons. So anyway, on March 8th or so, I had my website and I was ready to go. And then, of course, we all know what happened on March 10th or March 12th. All my shows canceled and all my teaching canceled. So what we started doing is teaching magic online. And so now I teach magic online. And to answer your question about whether you have to take a secret oath, anybody who takes my class has to take an oath. In fact, the third rule in my class that I go over every single day is never reveal the secret.
Oh, wow. Okay. So if it's okay, I'm going to poke a little bit farther into this. I'm making educational connections. First of all, I'm just going to make those explicit for those people that might just be completely fascinated by the magic side of things. But a connection that I just made is you learn foundational principles and skills. You didn't necessarily learn the recipe for a bunch of tricks, although I'm sure you have along the way. You learn foundational skills that you've then applied through your own lens, through your own artistic abilities, through your own art of the craft, if you will. And I think that's an important lesson for educators to make that connection too. In classrooms, our focus is to teach skills and aptitudes that kids can then later on apply to their own worlds and their own situations, not to just give them a script. And teachers, same thing. There are websites popping up all over the place, Teacher Pay Teacher and Pinterest, where we think it's just a cut and paste, a rinse and repeat. I'll just go get the script, if you will, or the recipe that I just need to follow. Magic is sort of like cooking, if you will. You get the ingredients, but it's up to you to make it come to life. I am not a Gordon Ramsay. I am not a Wolfgang Puck. I can't manufacture a meal like they can, even though I've got access to the recipe. It's up to the magician. It's up to the teacher to turn it into this flavorful masterpiece. So I think that's pretty cool how you just described how you unpack that. But then you also said that you make these people swear an oath, if you will, that they're not to reveal the secrets or the tricks. I mean, are you like cutting people in half online? Are you like bringing tigers into their living rooms? Like, what does this look like to teach kids or teach people online how to do magic?
Online, everything has to be this big.
Yeah, it's got to fit in that little 8.5 by 11 box. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So I can't make an elephant appear. It's impossible to do that. But it's funny you brought up saw a lady in half, because we actually do a trick where we saw a lady in half, but it's a piece of paper.
What?
Piece of paper. So every trick that we do, I don't have it hooked up right now, but I have a close-up camera, so we can do anything that fits in this box, and that includes everything from dollar bill tricks to coin tricks to anything that fits in this box. And in fact, there's a rope trick that I do particularly, and the rope was originally this long. And you can't see it. So what we have to do is we have to cut it so it's this long. So what we've had to do is adjust everything that we do to be this big, no matter what it is that we do.
And that's magic in and of itself right there.
Yeah, that's probably the same in teaching, right? Because teaching, you're used to doing live, full body, you can explain it big, whereas now, or I mean, I guess some classes or some schools across the country are doing partial live, partial distance learning, right?
Right.
I think so. So you have to be able to do it both ways. Interesting. So you have to be able to fit it in this little box.
What I'm hearing is that you've taken this obstacle and you've turned it into this amazing opportunity. When I was growing up, David Copperfield was the magician, and you've got Penn and Teller, and today you got David Blaine. You've got all these big time magicians, and I don't even know if they're illusion artists or whatever they're called in the biz.
That's who I grew up with too.
So, and I've seen them in person. I've also seen them on TV, and it's a different way to do the magic when you're on the small screen versus when you're in person or live, but it can still be done. And what they've done is they took that opportunity and said, I can't necessarily do the same tricks I would do on stage in a live audience. I'm going to do it on TV, but I'm going to be able to maximize my audience now by having it on TV. I can reach more people, and as a guy that would travel around the country with 300 shows a year, that's a lot of kids, but you're still in one geographic location a day. You've now got this opportunity, like for example, doing this podcast, this episode, you're going to be able to reach thousands of people by sitting down and having an hour-long conversation right now. That's pretty impressive.
Well, that was the idea. In fact, those hundreds of shows every year were in Southern California.
Wow. Okay.
With touring a week or two here or there, but mainly in Southern California. So that's exactly what I thought. When this whole thing first happened, all my shows were canceled and all of my friends are out of work, myself included. And then I woke up thinking the exact same thing you're thinking right now. Not only can I reach Southern California, but now I can reach Ohio and New York and any English-speaking country, England, Australia. I can reach all of those now, which I couldn't before because, quite frankly, schools in that area, I do mainly schools in that area couldn't afford to fly me out to New York or fly me to Australia to do my show and all my props. But now I can.
Oh, that's amazing. And now you're taking it to this whole new level. Because here I am hanging out in Michigan, okay? And the mailman shows up last week, knocks on my door, and says, there's a package for you. And I knew it was coming. I doing a podcast, I get lots of people that send me books and promo things all the time to read. And I knew that you were sending me something, but this box comes. And I look all over and it literally says, do not open. Now, that is a first for me not to get a preview of what's inside. And I'll be very honest, I've been very nervous about this episode for about a week and a half, knowing that I'm going to be opening this box for the very first time. And I don't know if that's just the magic in how you're building the suspense or whatever, but it's working for me. You've got me super intrigued. Good. Do you mind, just so that I can stay focused going forward, do you mind if I grab the box and we go here right now? Yeah. Because that's really all my mind is going at right now.
Please grab the box and you can shake it and stuff if you want.
I just want to make sure. So people that are seeing this online right now, you can see there's a box and it says, do not open. until John Abrams interview. So it's legit. And
okay, and the people that are
there's
just
something
listening
inside.
that aren't watching this, what is it that you just showed? The people that are just listening.
It is a big white post office box. That's all it says. Priority mail. It is a big white box. By big, it is, I'll read it. The dimensions are 0.343 cubic feet, 12 by 3.5 by 14, whatever. It's a box.
Okay, it's a big post office box. All right, let's do this. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to grab a piece of paper, a pencil, or a pen, either way, and calculate.
Got it, and got it.
And we're going to try to do this without telling me. I'm going to try to read your mind because I have a prediction, an idea. And here's what I want you to do, Dave. I want you to go ahead and jot down any 3-digit number. 3-digit number meaning like 753 or 497, any 3-digit number. Just jot it down. Don't show it to me. Just go ahead and jot it down. Doesn't matter what it is.
Paper here.
Okay.
I'm onto your tricks here. No, I have no idea. Any 3-digit number.
Any 3-digit number. Doesn't matter to me.
Done. And if you're listening, he cannot see what I'm writing. Okay. So yes. It's done.
I absolutely cannot. And we didn't set this up ahead of time, right?
No, not at all.
All right, you have a 3-digit number. Now, what I'd like you to do to make that number even more random, I'd like you to reverse that number. For example, if that number was 123, it would be 321. So that's all I want you to do, is just go ahead and write that number down. Okay. So now you have 2 numbers written down. One is the reverse of the other. I'd like you to take the big number and subtract the little number out of it. So take the big number minus the little number.
So let me just clarify. So if it's like, when you say the big number, I'm looking at all 3 digits combined. So if it was like 568 minus whatever the other one was, I'm not looking at each digit separately, correct?
Right. In that case, the bigger number would be 850.
Gotcha.
Whatever.
Okay. So it's all 3 numbers, not individual digits. Got it. Okay. I can handle this math.
Yeah, very easy. So the big number minus the little number, and you'll come up with some other figure. And don't tell me that figure.
Got it.
All right. Now, to make this even more random, I'd like you to take that figure that you have there, and I assume it's a 3-digit number, or is it? Just tell me.
The final number? Yeah, the final number is a 3-digit number. Yes.
All right. I'd like you to go ahead and reverse that also. So once again, if it's 1, 2, 3, it'd be 3, 2, 1. Now add those 2 together.
Whew. This is why I had the calculator handy, right? You're
this is it. This is the last. This is the last calculation.
Yeah, and I have my doctorate, but I'm having a hard time with these 3-digit math. Okay.
So now you have 2 numbers, and you added those 2 together, and now you have some final number.
I do. Yes.
Okay. Now open the package.
Okay, I'm gonna lose my mind here. Okay.
Nothing's gonna explode. It's not gonna be anything bad.
Okay.
All right.
Package open.
Explain to your listeners what you're looking at.
So as I'm opening up, there's a lot of brown paper inside.
Okay. Go ahead and put that aside.
Paper. Okay. Ooh, this is kind of creepy here. Got a holy cow. The Stephen King novel is in here.
Okay. What else is in there?
Discover Magic Secret Safari Kit. Okay.
Yes. Earlier I said that I would have a gift for you.
Yes, I love it.
Your kids. Put that aside for later. Not the prediction, but the Discover Magic thing. Okay. And then there's what's the last thing?
There's an envelope here that says prediction on it.
Okay. What I'd like you to do is, there's a giant book in there, right?
Yep. Stephen King. I mean, when I say giant, this is like, what do we got? More than 1,000 pages, 1,100 pages. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'd like you to, you have some final number that you came up with, right?
I do. Yep.
Don't tell me what it is. I'd like you to go to that page now.
Okay.
Go to that page in that book.
Still don't tell you what it was. Okay.
Don't tell me what it is.
Okay. Got it.
All right. In the upper right-hand corner, there is a word. I don't know, in the front of the sentence, in the back of the sentence. Do you see that word?
I see a word.
Okay. Now, out loud for the first time, tell me what that word is.
So I'm looking at the last word in the upper right-hand corner.
Exactly.
Okay. The word is spur.
What is it?
Spur.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's try. Go ahead and open that prediction envelope.
All right, I'm about to lose my mind here.
Okay, wait. Before you open that,
Okay.
let's go through the process that we did.
Okay.
First you named any random
Some random
right?
number, yeah.
Then we made it more random by reversing it, subtracting it, taking the total, adding the two together, finding a page, finding a word, and now
I'm going to show this to the screen just so people see what I'm doing here. Literally, this is the book. So if you're looking online, if you're looking at this at YouTube, there's.
Oh, there it is.
I'll cover the page number just so that people don't see it.
Yeah, lower just a teeny bit. Oh, there you go. Okay, I see that.
Reverse, whatever. Okay,
Spur,
so the word is on there. Okay.
Now go ahead and open that. Open the prediction envelope.
Dude, come on. And it says spur. Spur. Okay. See, and the fact that you used a Stephen King novel, like a huge Stephen King novel, and had to go to page 1089 of the Stephen King novel. That's just creepy and freaky. Very Pennywise-esque. Like, I'm kind of nervous right now.
It's very kind of clowny, huh? Very scary clown type of thing going on.
Okay.
There's a little fun for you.
Yeah,
Is that the first magic trick on your podcast?
That was probably the last one right now too, because I'm just like, my mind is blown. I'm supposed to be in control of this show, and now I just feel like I just turned it over to you, and I don't know. That's impressive. Well played. Well played.
That was really, really, really fun. I enjoyed doing that.
No, that was good. Nice job. So I'm going to ask you real quick, because people that can't see you right now, you're wearing a hat and you're wearing a blazer. Is like wearing a blazer a requirement of being a magician?
Not necessarily, but actually, when I first started doing this, I promised myself I would never be the tuxedo guy that would show up at the party and look like totally different than everybody else. And so that's what I did, is I ended up wearing like a safari outfit and did magic live animals, et cetera, et cetera. So when this whole COVID thing happened, I decided, well, I'm going to rebrand myself. It's time, because all of my shows have canceled. Nobody knows me from Adam, from your prior guest, Adam, welcome. Nobody knows me. So what I'm going to do is kind of rebrand myself. So now I have the hat, plus I'm getting older and losing my hair. So
welcome to my world, man. I hear you.
Oh boy. And I put on a jacket because I think it looks a little nicer.
Yeah, it's classy. But to do the trick you just did with me, you don't have to have anything like hidden up your sleeves. There's no sleight of hand. You were just looking deep into my soul.
That's right.
Reveal these hidden numbers, right? Yeah. So you do this kind of stuff, I can imagine. So you do a trick like this online right now. It's one thing. You do it in front of a large audience of kids. I can imagine after the show where you get a line of 150 kids all coming up to you saying, how'd you do it? Tell me how you did it. Or even something online. How do you kindly tell people, sorry, that's what magic is?
Well, when I first started doing this, I didn't have answers for those things. But over the years, I have 10 or 15 stock answers.
Okay.
Or how did you do that? Do it again. I know how you did that. It must be up your sleeve. So I have all sorts of answers and things that are just flip off my tongue, because I've heard that so many times.
That's cool. That's cool. So like the thing that you just did. So I know there's people already thinking they know the answer and they're trying to figure out the magic behind the magic.
Mm-hmm.
How I know you talked about the principles that you learned and the foundational pieces. Something like that trick you just did, is that something that somebody could go online and say, oh, that's a great little opener for me to use in my class? Could teachers sign up to work with you just to learn how to do these tricks and then learn how to incorporate them into their teaching and learning with kids?
Yeah, that particular trick, you would have to know certain things about it to look it up. Okay. For example, if I were to do a rope trick, you could look up rope trick and you could say, okay, well, I know how you did that. But that particular trick, maybe
might be a little
not.
Trickier. Okay.
You would have to learn a little more about it. But if you stick around after we chat here for a little bit, I'm going to show you something that you can do for your students.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to do it here. I hate this.
So this is one of those. So everybody's saying, Schmitto, don't stop recording. Just keep it going. Trick the magician here. Let him think it's all done. No, that's okay. I'll respect the art here. It's all good. It's all good.
That's okay.
So as we're recording this, we are halfway through the school year of the existing school year, and you implied that things changed dramatically.
Oh
You
yeah.
said explicitly things changed dramatically. Your plans did not work out. I mean, you talked about March 10th or 12th. I remember March 13th is the day that will live in infamy. It was Friday the 13th, and the world stood still, and things have not been the same. I made a major pivot with my own career, with my own life, and all the things that I'm doing. But it really was this opportunity. As I look back now, I'm able to see why things have worked out. Are you at that place yet? Or are you still looking at it thinking, oh, I had huge dreams. I knew where things were going. Is it, are you clawing through it? Are you looking
Well,
back
yeah,
reflective?
yeah, things changed dramatically. Um, in fact, I got a call from a friend of mine who does school assemblies like I do, and here's how quick it happened. He was on stage doing a show and finished one school assembly. He had two scheduled, and he had to cancel the second one because the principal came up to him and said, "Hey, there's this COVID-19 thing. We have to dismiss school
Wow.
now." So he couldn't do a second assembly. So on March 12th, I was out to sushi with a friend, didn't have any shows that day. And we looked around the restaurant and saw that it was normally completely full. You could barely get a seat. It was about half empty.
Mm.
And we had kind of heard rumblings of this COVID-19 thing. And then I got home and there was 10 or 12 cancellations
Wow.
as emails. And then the next couple of days, 50 or 60 or 70 came in. Uh, so I went from doing 300 to 400 shows a year to zero, zip.
Wow.
So all I did, I was used to getting up every morning at 5 in the morning and loading up my equipment, driving to a school and starting a school assembly to educate and entertain kids and get that little bit of adrenaline every single
Mm-hmm.
day, to laying in bed every single day, uh, wondering where my next dollar is going to come from. How am I going to pay? How am I going to pay my bills? What am I going to do? And it devastated our entire industry. So I did that for a while, thinking that maybe this COVID thing would go away in a few weeks or maybe a month or two. And I certainly had enough savings and things for a month or two. But as you know, it didn't go away.
Right.
So a couple of months ago, myself and a lot of other entertainers, we kind of realized that, guess what? This isn't going to go away, maybe ever. We don't know. So what I started doing is I started creating shows for this medium.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've created a bully show called Power Words. I've worked with the Discover Magic people with over 50 entertainers to create a show called Power Words that is a bully prevention show without the word bully. I've also created a STEM show that is also online. So both of those are online, something called the WOW Workshop, which is an interactive thing where I teach kids magic online. So, the difference between back then and now, back then we'd create a stage show, and when this COVID thing hit, a lot of entertainers would translate their stage show to online.
Mm-hmm.
And between you and I don't think that works, because there are certain things that you create for stage that are big and giant, and they just simply don't work. And our competition changed. Our competition went from other entertainers that are doing stage shows to YouTube, to
Mm-hmm.
TV, to things that are on the smaller screen. So now when a kid is watching us online, they're not expecting our stage show. They're expecting a polished YouTube commercial, TV type of thing. So I've gone back and rebuilt my shows from the ground up to match this screen.
Wow. Do you foresee that being your model going forward? I mean, where we are right now, I know most of us are hoping that things go, I don't want to say go back. I mean, we're still going forward. There will be some changes, but we're hoping that we can get kids in buildings full time. We're hoping that kids will be able to sit in gymnasiums and cafeterias and attend these school assemblies again. Do you see yourself going back to that? Is that where your sweet spot is being the live interactive, or
Yeah.
is this the new normal for you?
I don't know. Right now, it's the new normal. I don't know the answer to that because I don't know the future. as much as it seems like I do know the future, I don't know what the future brings. But by creating these online shows, I think that somewhere in the future there's going to be some sort of a hybrid. So I'll
Yeah.
still, if things come back like they were, I'll still have those shows in my pocket that I did for the last 20 years, 25 years. But I'll also have those virtual shows that I could do for schools in your area,
Right.
or
No,
schools in New York. So I'm not exactly sure, but I want to be prepared for whatever happens in
that's
the
so
future.
smart. I feel like this, if nothing else, has eliminated that barrier to entry for you, where now people understand that there is a way to bring you into their schools, where PTAs can use their money to bring you into an after-school event. Now people understand what Zoom is or Google Meet or whatever these platforms are, and they understand that the real power behind it. While also those that are close and local to you can still say, "Hey, let's do this thing that we've
Exactly.
brought you in for all the time." I think that's amazing, and
Exactly. That's
build on
absolutely
both of
true.
them.
It used to be that schools were limited to the entertainment that was around them.
Yeah,
So if you lived in the middle of nowhere and you have two educational entertainers that aren't very good, that's who you're stuck with, and that's who you know. And
yeah,
now across the country and across the world, you can have the very best educational entertainers now
that's amazing.
because you can
And so
choose from anybody across the world.
I mentioned that as we're recording this, we're halfway through the school year.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you point blank: do you still have openings in the spring for people if they're hearing this and thinking, "Oh my gosh, this would be an amazing fit for my school. I've been struggling for student engagement. I've been struggling to get kids involved. I want to bring this to my class, to my school." Do you still have the availability?
Yeah, I still have availability mainly for the new year.
Okay.
And I have a number of campaigns going out for the new year. So yeah, I do have some spots in the new year. And I have something else for you too. I actually didn't tell you this beforehand, but I have a bunch of free things that your listeners can have if they're interested.
Free?
It's
My
free.
my
Yeah,
listeners don't like free, so
I know.
save it for another
That's
show.
not
Oh,
for,
no, okay, go ahead. Just in case there's a new listener here, go
well,
ahead.
well, here's what I do when I started doing the bully game. I would go from school to school and I'd find out what schools were doing to help bullying, what they would do
Yeah.
to succeed. And so every time I found out a new one, I would jot it down. So what I did is I created a free report, 28 bully prevention ideas for your school that you can have for free. It's on my website. It's on schoolofastonishment.com, and you go to the page that says free stuff.
That's the first page we all go to. Yes,
I'm
free
sure.
stuff.
Yeah, my
Awesome.
web designer says don't put that on there because that'll be the first thing anybody ever goes to. So you can
No,
download
that's
that.
that's awesome. Okay, so you got 28 bully prevention strategies that you've basically picked up from all over the place. People are
Yep,
already using. You've curated it for them. Awesome.
absolutely, absolutely. So you can have that for free. I also just wrote. In fact, when I woke up, I said, you know what, I'm going to write this right now. I just wrote. In fact, I jotted down the exact name of it so I wouldn't forget. 5 ways your school could take advantage of COVID. So I thought to myself, how
Hmm.
can schools take advantage of this COVID situation? Instead of making it a problem, make it an opportunity. And
Yeah.
so I jotted down some ideas I have, and you can get that free on that page too.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And say the site again.
It is called schoolofastonishment.com,
Hmm.
and the free page.
Awesome. So all of that stuff is in the show notes, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to the podcast. But I know that there are a lot of listeners and watchers that are lazy like me, and we just want to hear it so we can just type it in as we go without having to scroll down. And is that how people get in touch with you as well? If they want to try to book you, bring you in, contact you, ask you
Sure.
questions?
Yeah, you can either go to my website or I hang out a lot of Facebook. So Facebook, John Abrams, and I have School of Astonishment. I have a page there on Facebook. You can hook up with me there. And I also have email, info@schoolofastonishment.com. So pretty much everything School of Astonishment.
Let me just ask you on a very personal note. So, dad of 4 kids. Um, let's say hypothetically that one of my kids, who is 7, getting ready to turn 8, has a birthday coming up, and I'm thinking
Ah,
I still have no idea what to do for his birthday. He can't go around to meet around a bunch of his friends, but I want to have a party for him.
sure.
That the kind of thing that you do, or are you focused more on schools? Where's
Yeah,
your
I do.
sweet
I do
spot?
mainly schools and libraries, but I'll tell you what a lot of guys in Southern California are doing are what are called distance shows.
Mm.
socially distanced shows. So one of the guys that I know, he'll drive up in his car and he'll do the show in your front yard, and you'll actually watch from either your balcony or your front, and he'll actually put hula hoops on the front yard 6 feet apart, and that's where the different families have to sit.
Very cool.
So you can do social distancing entertainment that way. There are other people. This doesn't really go with the birthday parties, but there are other entertainers that are doing drive-through entertainment, where they're doing little 5-minute sets, and you drive up, you watch their 5-minute set, and then you drive to the next entertainer.
That's
So
cool.
that's kind of an interesting thing. So we've changed and moved and grooved. So to answer your question with your birthday, certainly social distancing is a great idea. There are also a lot of birthday parties on Zoom nowadays. You can get the very best entertainers across the country.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, the world has evolved. It's not just schools. The world has evolved, and we're all trying to figure out new ways to reach new people. And I'm excited about the idea that I can connect with people in Southern California, for example, who I never would have had the opportunity to explore. Now I'm not just running to Chuck E. Cheese for all of my entertainment needs. The world is in front of me, and I just had to figure out how to tap into it and where to find people. But they're available. Amazing people like you are now available to all of us.
Thanks. And the funny thing is this technology was probably available before.
Oh, it was.
But but this COVID-19 thing has kind of forced us to do this. And now it's opened up an entire world.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
Yeah.
Well, John, I appreciate you being here and taking the time to do this. I know it's been beyond just our recording time that you've been preparing for this. I mean, like I said, preparing the package to send to me. You listened to other podcast episodes to prep. I mean, you are the consummate professional here. You are the educator extraordinaire who doesn't just show up and say, I'm going to wing it and just figure out what happens. And I appreciate that. It comes through very professional, yet very personal. You're a man on a mission. You're a man out there trying to change the game. You're trying to use your skill and your art for the better, and not just out there to try to make a buck. You're out there trying to change lives. And I appreciate that. I just wanted to let you know that I notice it. I see it. And there's so much value in what you're doing. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you. Gosh, I'm gonna use that as an intro from now on.
Feel free, man. Go for it. It's real and it's genuine. But one of the things I ask every single guest when they come on is to think about that mic drop moment, is what we call it. It's just that thing, we talked a lot. We talked about how you got your start here. We talked about the fact that you're on the road all the time. We talked about what your career looks like. You did some magic. You made me pull out a Stephen King book and read a little bit about Pennywise. But if people had to think about that one thing, the thing that you want them to think of when they think of your name, the message you want people to remember, and you've got the world listening to you right now. This is literally reaching 7 billion people. This is the biggest audience you've ever had, John, just saying. And they're all listening to you right now, and you've got the mic in your hand. You're about to say it, drop it, and disappear into wherever magicians disappear. What is it that you want them to know or remember?
Well, we kind of went over some of it during the podcast here. I'd like everybody to think of this COVID-19 thing not as some sort of a problem, which is I think how we all handled it at the very beginning, but think of it as an opportunity. Think of it as a time to reevaluate the way we're teaching kids, the way we're affecting kids, and look at what you've been doing and how can we do it better? How can we use this medium, the medium that we're using right now, the screen, the virtual thing, reevaluate everything that you're doing and take a look at how it's affecting the people that you're talking to.
That's so good. And whether we're talking COVID or any obstacle that you're facing in your life, it is an opportunity. Obstacles result in opportunities. Growth only comes from adversity. So I love how you talk about that. It's a way to reframe things, look for opportunities to grow and evolve and do things differently and possibly even better. It's amazing. Awesome.
Yeah, hopefully if we do things right, it will be better.
Oh, it's so good. So good. John, again, I appreciate you. I appreciate you stumping me and making me feel like a fool, not able to figure out what you did. But I am going to try to figure this out and I'm going to be doing some magic with my own kids tonight. I
Right.
can't wait for this episode to go out so people can see it and make connections to you. So people check out all the amazing work that John is doing here. Connect with him. He said he's got time. He's got availability. Fill up this man's schedule. Make him work hard and let him entertain, inspire, and educate the kids that you serve. Thanks again,
Perfect.
John. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.